Welcome everyone to the Digitize Fully Charged Podcast. This is our first ever episode. I'm so excited to just share with you who the team are, what we do, our backgrounds, tell you a little about us as people and human beings, and I don't know, just hopefully have a bit of a laugh as well. My name's Pam Currie. I started off my career as an English teacher a long time ago. I taught secondary English. I ended up kind of getting involved in technology in like the early 2000s, I suppose. And then since then, I've done things like work for the Scottish Government on the GLOW project, and then leading TA education in Scotland, and now we're launching our own brand, Digitize, #Digitize Education, #Digitize Business, and we're just all about that digital transformation piece. It doesn't matter if it's for learning, for life, or work. We're here to help support you to transform your work and make the most of technologies like AI, which has been a total game changer, as you know, over the last 24 months or so. We are joined today by Niall Ridgway and Carole Harper, my two favourite people in my working world. Here, Carole, will we start? We'll have to edit that bit out clearly.
I quite like that too.
It's the only two people in your working world.
Yeah,
I quite like it. Keep it in.
So, as always, I'm joined today by Niall Ridgway, and also today by the other key member of the Digitize crew, Carole Harper. So I'm going to hand over now to Niall first and then pass on to Carole, and they can give you a bit of background about their story.
Yeah, thanks, Pam. Yep, so I kind of had, I guess, a similar start. I started in education. I was the primary side of things though, so focused on the younger years, and then additional sport needs teacher as well for a wee while. And then, you know what, just after COVID, we were moving away from that city and looking for somewhere new to go. And I was very lucky to be headhunted.
Take it, Nige.
By Pam and Kaz, and invited me to join TA Education Scotland. And now we've kind of grown out to Digitize as well. So that's my background and kind of where I've come from. Kaz, how about yourself?
Well, I've not come from an education background. I don't know how anyone feels about that, but I have worked in the private sector doing various different roles, mainly working in sales and business development, commercial roles. All of my roles over the years have evolved to be very digitally focused. So working on really big projects. One of the last projects that I worked on was at Edinburgh Airport when I worked on a fully digital airport car parking product. So that was really exciting. And I've always been involved in working with Pam within the businesses, so TA Education and latterly Digitize. And I lost my job at Edinburgh Airport due to COVID, and that was the opportunity for me to come and work full time with Pam on the business. And it's just kind of snowballed since there. So we've been working on lots of different commercial projects, different into employment projects. It's just been a really exciting time. As I say, I'm not an educator, but I really feel quite passionately about the transformation that needs to happen in education. I mean, I was in education, so I know that it's not changed that much since I was there. So that's really it. I mean, what I do is very varied. What I've done at every business has been very varied, actually. I'm a bit of a jack of all trades, master of none. But I love my job, and it's very exciting. And I think we're coming into 2025 is going to be a really exciting and transformative year for everybody, but also hope our business as well.
Nice, Kat. So, see, when you were talking about being a jack of all trades and master of none, kind of made me think like we're all a bit like that in this team. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like we've all got that sort of pockets of things that we do. I don't know. I kind of wonder.
Do you think that's how the world has to be now? Like it's all about just having different skills and different things that you can just dip your hand into and get on with, as opposed to having one singular role and that's all you do.
I think it's good that we're all a group of people who are like, if we need to know something or we want to know something, we just go and learn it. We just go and do it. If we're needing to go and learn how to use a tool, or if we're needing to problem solve, how do we get from X to Y? Like, we just go and work it out. So I think that's that.
I've always had to do that in every job that I've had over the years. So I started working for a kind of startup company when I was young, just out of school, really. Well, not like out of college. And nobody really knows what they're doing. So you're told to do something, you just have to go and do it and get on with it. And you can really tell quite quickly, there's different people, different learning styles, but you can tell quite quickly the ones that really thrive in that environment, just like, okay, how do we do this? It's problem solving, isn't it? And then others that really do need support and guided.
Yeah. And it's I suppose Niall and I have got, especially, I mean, Carole, you've obviously got awareness of this as well, but Niall and I have got real experience like going out and delivering that training to sort of different people and seeing all those different levels of confidence. And you know, I had a beautiful moment this morning. I was delivering a Canva session in our local community, an in-person one, with like members of the local business community, and there was a lady there who's like definitely in her 70s, but she wasn't afraid to try things. So we were making a video in Canva, and you know, she was like asking really insightful questions, and like, you know, how do I get that transition again between my video slides? And it really, like, I really admired her kind of resilience and the fact that she was giving it a go and not scared to try things. In fact, I saw something the other day on Twitter. I think one of the few people that's still posting on Twitter. I saw a thing where someone said something about schools and how maybe everyone in their over 50s should just give up on technology. Now, obviously, I had a bit of an extreme reaction internally to that, but I fought it.
Is that because you're over 50, Pam?
Well, as I mean, I was like, steady on, 70s maybe.
But even then, Pam, think about like your dad, how amazingly switched on he is with technology. What I was going to say though, oh right, sorry.
Oh, listen, no, see where you're talking about my dad, this is really interesting, right? Because, do you know, like, AI, okay, we're doing workshops on AI, we're training people on AI. People are like, AI's the big thing.
We've been banging on about this AI
that we all need to.
For ages,
we have, but it's a thing that everybody needs to learn. And the other day, I had a kind of startling moment where I thought, right, okay, AI's just going to be everywhere. It's just going to be ubiquitous. It's not necessarily going to be a thing that, you know, we need to deliver training on AI, because it's going to be everywhere. And the
integrated
reason,
really well.
And integrated. The reason I came at that conclusion was because my dad was selling something on eBay, and my dad used to be a English teacher as well, so he's fond of words, and he spends a great amount of his retirement life writing very comprehensive TripAdvisor reviews for places he's visited. And if he was making a listing on eBay, you can guarantee there'd be a thorough listing of that product, right? And he did that, and he sat and he spent probably hours at his computer writing his eBay listing. And he told me later that night that he'd been amazed because he'd written this big listing, and then he noticed a little thing at the bottom of his eBay listing that said, "Want to write a description with AI?" And he thought, oh, I'll give that a go. So he tried it, and safe to say his mind was blown. Now, he won't have gone to ChatGPT and learned AI independently, and because he's not been motivated to, but he uses eBay. He's quite good at the old eBay, and it's the integration. And that's what I mean by it being ubiquitous and everywhere. It's just going to become integrated, like, to everything we do.
Yeah.
I mean, we've done that. We've integrated AI chatbots into our websites and things.
And, Carole, tell us about the chatbot on the website, Cass.
So we've got two chatbots. We've got two websites. We've got a website which is our home, which is wearedigitize.com, and that's our kind of our main brand, it takes you off to lots of different things that we do. So on the wearedigitize.com, we have is it called Dexter on wearedigitize.com? So we've named it. We've given this AI a persona, and his name is Dexter. And if you go onto our website and you want to ask anything about our services, you just pop a little message into Dexter, and Dexter will then also give you support on any other digital question that you may have. Now we're still training this Dexter, but that's an example of us putting a 24/7 basically customer service agent on our main sales brand website. We've done it as well on our learning platform, which we're going to go into more detail and talk to you about in a wee minute, but that is even more integrated and even more powerful. But I'll leave that just now. But again, it's just an example of how, the world was all hearing about ChatGPT.
And I think, like, the fact it's even integrated into Google Search now, like Gemini's integrated into Google Search. So you're getting AI results.
That just become Google Search.
Yeah. I mean, I found myself changing my behaviours and actually using ChatGPT because that was my main AI platform I started using. I began to go there to find the answers I might normally have gone to Google to find.
You get a wee phone call there, Pam.
Yes.
This is what happens when she's famous now.
Sorry.
It records one podcast.
It was actually my dad. It was my dad.
Was it your dad? Oh, Jacko.
So I'm just going to put my phone on Do Not Disturb.
He'll be wanting to know if you want a lift, Pam.
Oh, maybe. My car's got a puncture. So I'm kind of like on foot for the next few days. Really annoying puncture.
Bye. That leads us in nicely. And Kaz was talking about Dexter and about how that kind of looks on the front end. Pam, how did you go around building Dexter? How did you go around creating this AI chat persona?
So, to be honest, it was something, see, when I saw the fact that you could make custom versions of ChatGPT, I had a pure light bulb moment when I saw that. So basically, if you don't know what that means, it means you can go to ChatGPT and you can go to custom GPTs and create your own. Now, you can't do that with a free account. You can do it with the paid account. So you need to pay 20 quid a month or something?
Around 18? About that.
About that. But that enables you to take the ChatGPT technology, the AI technology, and build a custom version of it that knows you, your product, your brand's tone of voice, it knows your business or your school or your, club or project or work. And it will learn very, very specific things about your context. So what we've been working on is training our AIs, our custom versions, to know our products. So we've taught it, for example, on our learning platform, we've taught it every single learning activity so that if people are on one, it's able to say, you need help with this one. You'll need to use Canva for this activity. And actually, if you want to collaborate with your peers, you should use Padlet as well. And then it gives them the URL link to these tools, to the support documents. And it's really, like, one of the things, you know what, I said to Niall, like, a few months back, I was like, Niall, see if someone, like, I don't know, the government or someone gave us, like, £1 million, what would we do to transform education? And Niall was like, well, we need to be in, like, every classroom. Like, we need to try and be in every classroom. And actually, when you take that sort of that opportunity and then you use AI, it kind of empowers us to be in every classroom. Where we couldn't physically have done that for millions and millions of pounds would still have been a challenge. And this has kind of enabled us to do that. So the bit that was missing for me, because I'm not a coder, we do a lot of technical stuff, but I'm not a developer. I'm a designer and education technology fan that kind of knows bits of development stuff, but I'm not trained in that. So for me, it was the integration of these APIs in ChatGPT with our website that was the big challenge, and to be able to achieve that has been, to be honest, been my big learning thing of the year, if I'm honest.
I'm just fact checking myself before I do this. So the CEO of NVIDIA has said that the new coding language in the next 2 or so years is going to be English, because people are going to stop using C++. For example, because
you look visibly
English...
excited by that.
We'll take over.
You could hardly keep yourself on your seat.
He's so right.
Look at her now. She can't believe it. As a former English teacher,
the thing is, right?
About that tonight, Pam.
He's so right though, because I've always been kind of frustrated by my lack of ability to code, and that is exactly what I did to get these GPTs working on our sites. I asked the AI what to do, and it gave me JavaScript. It gave me code, and actually, I couldn't believe that it actually worked. I mean, I'm not like, I love AI, as you know, but I really didn't expect it to work. I thought, that's not going to work. There'll be something I don't know that's going to stop it working. And I literally copied and pasted what it gave me, and it just worked. And I was like, whoa.
We were at a session with Alice Keeler. She doesn't bring this up in her future podcast, but we'll bring it in now, where she was looking at Google App Script, and was basically putting it into AI, telling it exactly what she wanted it to do, copying and pasting the app script, hitting execute, and then it was just running and working for her.
And it's even like, I was speaking to a developer actually at the weekend, socially, just out for drinks, and I was asking him I was telling him about this, and I was like, what do you do with AI in terms of like you're developing? And he's like, do you know what it's really good for? It's really good for validating your processes, because he's like, it's being a developer is just solving a series of problems. So he'll kind of figure it out in his head. He'll be like, right, I'm going to do that and that, and then if I do that, that's going to happen. So I'll need to do that, and he's like, I'll just ask the AI, and then it'll just basically say, it sounds like you're going to be doing this, 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 and this, and he's like, yeah, I was.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to do. So, yeah, it's just, I suppose it helps with that blank page thing. You know that blank page thing where you're like, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to write? It's got me over a few blank pages.
It's the ultimate collaborator, isn't it?
Yeah. I think what's important at this juncture is to point out that we're not just about education. We've spent a lot of our working careers like working with business customers, working with local business organisations. So we do kind of like a bit of both. Like our education experience is our passion. I'd say the idea of transforming education, because I think all of us have seen the benefits of that transformation. We see it with young people. I've got so many stories of young people who've like not been engaged with a kind of traditional classroom setup or system in analog ways, and then present them with digital activities, and you see a different child and a different experience for the classroom teacher. And that for me it's always been about the teacher and the pupils and helping them thrive in this digital world. And I think like in my own education I saw lots of irrelevance, and I think it's that the gap between how relevant the curriculum is to the world just seems to have grown. And, you know, like one of the things for me is that, like, you know, that the Sir Ken Robinson famous talk, schools kill creativity. Well, I really genuinely feel like school killed mine. Because when I did music at school, we did plinky, plinky, plonky piano of some classical piece that I was never going to be interested in, where I was listening to like Guns N' Roses. But if someone had showed me how to play Def Leppard cast, if someone had shown me how to play Sweet Child of Mine on guitar in music, I would have been hooked. And the fact that I left school, and the first thing I did when I left school was form a band, just kind of sums it up for me. I'm like, well, why was that never nurtured in my education experience? Why did I go to music and play acoustic guitars that were impossible to play alongside 30 other people in a room to some nursery rhyme when I was 14? You know, and it's like in some ways it's still there a wee bit. Obviously things have got better and whatever else, but like it's still there. I feel like it's still not nurturing that creativity. And that's, I guess, what we're trying to help with. Like, we're not going to do it by ourselves. We're not suggesting that we're going to transform education on our own. But what we want to do is to empower educators to transform what goes on in their classrooms. And that's the challenge that we help solve, is empowering, giving them the activities, giving them the tools, ready to go lessons that you can just, you don't need to be an expert in that app or technology. You can just share the activity, recognise that there's going to be multiple apps needed to achieve the project or the activity outcome, and just coach and guide and support the young people to do it. And I think that's where the real power and the real transformation happens, if educators are empowered to just do things a bit differently. And you can't know everything. Like, you literally can't know everything. They get a few hours to do CPD and learning. There's so many competing things that you need to learn about. It's just impossible. So there needs to be a different way of empowering people. And I suppose in some ways we were like, well, do you know what? We're a training organisation and we will always do training. It's like, we love doing it. But there's so many times when I've been out training and I've been like, they're not going to remember this next week, because it's an hour's CPD at the end of a day that's already been really busy, probably. And it's probably had, child protection cases and all sorts of other really, really important safety stuff. And then we come along and go, have you seen this new app? And they're like, it's just not having the impact you want to have.
Just too much going on.
Yeah. And I think that's a thread that has come up in all of the conversations we've had so far. People have got too much to do. Someone needs to simplify all of this and rethink it. And it's happening. We've got, there's so many great people out there sharing what they're doing in education.
I think it's really important for our audience to know that you really are the one that's the visionary and the thought leader, and you're the future-focused one. And you're the one that really does understand, along with Niall, definitely not me to the same degree that you two, because you're completely and utterly, you're submerged in this world of education. But in terms of who you are for Digitize and why both Niall and I are here today, is probably more what we want to know. So all of our ideas, all of the vision, all of the products, the services, not all of them, but a lot of them kind of come from your head and where you believe that education needs to be, not just for schools, but for local authorities and employability partnerships, for businesses.
I think the challenge in terms of my role is wearing so many different hats, like you say. It's just because we're a very small team. The budgets have been cut. Very really small, ambitious, but incredibly ambitious. And I think sometimes we try and achieve things that teams of hundreds of people might spend a while achieving in a bigger project. And it's hard to do that, and you do have to wear all these different hats. So you're right, I am building websites 1 minute and then coming up with sort of strategy and strategic things the next, and it's hard. It's not easy. I think any business leader probably has to do that, though, in the beginning. I think you've got to just wash the dishes and prepare the food and design the menu. It's just what you have to do. We're piloting. We've got a massive pilot coming up in the new year that we're really, really excited about. So we're going to be piloting across all of the schools in the Forth Valley and West Lothian area, Regional Improvement Collaborative. So that's been in Scotland, yes, of course, because we're not just in Scotland. But that'll be really good for users, and obviously getting feedback from them and just refining our product before we go for the bigger launch. But I don't know how you sum up what I bring to the table. Lots of ideas, lots of enthusiasm and excitement, and I know I get carried away at times and I have to get reined in and pulled back and told that that's too ambitious because there's only 3 of us. But I suppose that's what I do. I drive forward the ideas, and
that's the ambition that helps us go forward as well, to help us see your vision, and it pushes forward change as well. And everybody, if we weren't ambitious,
but you know what?
Nothing would happen.
I couldn't do any of this on my own. Like, that's the thing. It's like, although like there's so much of it I'm involved in, you just couldn't do it without the team that goes out and makes it happen. I mean, I spoke earlier in this session about delivering a Canva workshop this morning. Great, Pam, you delivered a Canva workshop. The only reason I was able to do that is because Niall made the slides for me yesterday and worked really hard to prepare what I was going to do, just so that I didn't have to think about it, because I've got so many other things to think about. So it's that like team effort that really is going to get us to where we want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Kaz, how about yourself? What would you say your expertise are that you bring to the team and bring to the group, and kind of bring to the experience of anybody who wants to kind of take part in Digitize?
So, I mean, obviously my banter is the thing that I bring the most of.
The jokes.
The jokes. Every day. I just want to laugh every day. And we know that. And so I think probably the thing that I bring, do you know what? The thing that I love doing and have always done and always been really good at is building relationships and selling and talking to people. And I think for me, I just really want to get out there and start selling our learning platform and telling people about it. But what I've been doing, because we're not quite there yet, but what I've been doing is helping create the content for it and applying for funding and just making sure the business runs.
Survives.
Effectively. It's not been very efficient. I'm not very, as I said earlier, I'm not brilliant at anything. The only thing that I would say, I would really put my hand up and say that I'm really good at building relationships, being a really good account manager.
When you were younger, Kaz, did you enjoy having the latest mobile phone? Did you enjoy kind of playing the video games that were coming out? What were you like?
Not so much. I'm not a gamer, but I've always had a mobile phone since I was maybe 17 or 18. I had the first ever iPhone. I thought, this is amazing. And it was the technology that just blew us away. First you had the iPod, was it? The iPod? And you could just see, I feel like I've seen the evolution of the Apple products right in front of my eyes, from the iPod to the little nanos, and then the phones coming out, and then the iPods becoming completely obsolete. Phones just becoming everything.
When you were saying about the iPod there, I remember I got my first iPod Classic. I think it was the 160 gig, whatever, as big as it could go at that stage. And I was at the age where I could get driving lessons, and I was like, this is going to be like fuel all of my trips. Get the music on. I'm going to have all the different albums on there. And then that iPod died before I passed my driving test. So I had to get a new one so that I could then use my iPod when I finally was able to learn to drive. But that was the goal. That was the reason I got the iPod, was to be able to use it when I had a car. To
go on a massive road trip and listen to tunes all the way.
So I had to get a new one.
That's amazing. My friend's just got a new car, and I was in our car last night, and it's brand new. So it's got all the latest gadgetry. It seemed like it was almost like a video game set up inside, because everything was digital. I'm so pleased for this friend of mine that she's got this new car, because she was literally, until a couple of months ago, driving around in a 2008 Golf that she got when it was brand new. So she's literally owned that Golf and driven that Golf, and by the end, a 2008 Golf was pretty kind of old-fashioned, I would say, and her radio didn't even work. And I was in the car with her last night, and I'm like, this is amazing, because now you've got Spotify and DAB and everything at the touch of the button, and actually the car you had a couple of months ago didn't even have radio.
That car is almost old enough to pass its own driving test.
Wow, yeah. That's what it is.
What about Niall? What does he do? Who's he? What do you do, Niall?
What does he bring to the table?
I bring a very mixed bag to the table. from kind of my personal interests are kind of tech. So when we were chatting about old tech, I loved researching the latest phone, the latest iPod when I was growing up. I was absolutely the teenager who pressed every button on keyboards to find out what settings I could change, how far could I push that device, and I've been playing around with computers for my whole life. It's a surprise that I didn't go into kind of computing science and that background. But yeah, so I grew up, like, I remember wanting a mobile phone, and there was a website where you could go and you could emulate that phone, pretend you had it. So I would go on and actually, like, is this the phone that I want? And play around, pretend I've got that Sony Ericsson, and then go, that's the one that I want, and then would save up all my money and go and get that latest phone.
Oh, bless him.
So that was me growing up. Gives you an idea of kind of what child I was.
I can just imagine him. I wonder how many monitors he's got, but he's got one of them, like, got loads of monitors.
You know what? I would love to have more. I've got two. I've got the vertical one and the horizontal one.
Nice.
You'd love to have more. What for?
Yeah,
What do you do with them all?
He'd just like to wrap them round and...
Yeah. I've got the I don't want to say it, I've got the GOOGLE home beside me as well screen. So I can have, like, the films playing, I can have the YouTube videos playing whilst I'm sitting typing away. And yeah. So I've got a nice wee tech setup here.
Niall's like our tech guy. He's like our...
Just want to play with everything. So that's where I guess the love for, like, audio and video has come from as well. So
Yeah.
I've got the nice camera here. I've got the nice video camera sitting kind of for this call here, and using kind of tools like Premiere Pro to edit videos and learn how to edit videos and how do I pull in the audio, how do I edit the audio, and that's played in quite nicely into the podcast as well. So, I mean, the way that we do this is we record it using the software. I download everybody's local recordings, and then I just edit away and play around with everything and make sure that everything is as good quality and high quality as possible. And then that's what I was doing this morning and this afternoon was I was working out how to create, like, YouTube shorts and TikTok clips from the podcasts.
Yeah.
So how do I use in and out markers and export from there and chuck it up into Canva? And so that really interests me. That's absolutely one of my interests. And
that's
I
the kind of thing that I think I would be into and then just lose interest. I think I need instant results. I think I've discovered that about myself.
Yeah.
And Niall's really good at thinking through the processes.
Yes,
like,
he's
I
really
really
good.
noticed that with the way he organised this whole process for the podcast. Because, like, it was like, okay, well, we're going to do a podcast and, like, we're going to need guests and we're going to need a way of inviting them on and then helping them to know what they're doing and all the rest of it. And it just, the way he approached that task was just really, really... And you know, I felt terrible, right? Because, like, he'd kind of told me, like, he's been like, right, yeah, I've sorted out all that podcast stuff. And, like, unless it's, like, at the forefront of my mind and focus and attention and it's the most important thing, I'll probably not pay full attention to it there and then. But then, of course, a week or so later, I was like, right, let's have a wee look at all this podcast stuff now. And we did it together and I was just like, wow, he's done so much for this.
Niall's the dream.
It was just so good. It was just so good now. Like, I really, really appreciate it. We couldn't have done it without him. In terms of the education work now, I'd say you've got, like, I don't know, I think you kind of find your niche, don't you? And I think you're really finding a niche around, like, especially accessibility, definitely, like, all the technology and especially the Google stuff. I think you've gone so far on the Google educator programs, like, you've got them all. Is there any you've not got?
I've got them all. I've
all
got
of them?
3. I've got the coach, the innovator.
Where's
the
your
trainer.
badges? You should have the badges on.
I should have them. I should have them nearby.
But yeah, so, you know, Niall is, like, our Google guy for sure. But I think accessibility as well. Tell us what you've done around that lately.
So, you know what, it's really interesting because I'm coming at it from that ASN background and from the early years background. So I had to work out how to support my students to be able to use the digital tools. And the way in for me was accessibility tools. And so it was everybody using them. Everybody's using the speech to text. Everybody's using the magnifiers. Everybody's using all of the tools that are there. to just kind of allow access to the video games I'd created for my students, that kind of thing. We've been out with Chromebook Roadshow, was a massive part of that, going out across Scotland, showing staff and students how they can use the tools. And no matter what lesson we're going out to do, the first thing we do is accessibility, because it means that everybody is then able to access the hour and a half, whatever we're doing. They're able to access that.
That's a really good plan.
And then, and then it means, like, if a student needs to use the Zoom, then they can. If they need to use the speech to text, then they absolutely can. And there's no pressure on anybody to use them or not to use them at all. It's if you need them, you use them.
And how did you find, like, when you first went out and started doing those, like, Chromebook Roadshow accessibility pieces, how did you find, like, did people know it? Did they benefit from it? Like, what was the...
Yeah, so we've got this statistic that I can't remember the exact wording, but it's something along the lines of, the statement is, I know how the accessibility tools can support students in my class with their education. At the start of the session, so prior to us coming out, 15% of people said yes, they knew how they could use the accessibility tools.
15.
15, yeah. After us being there for an hour and a half, it's 95% feel confident that they can teach others how to use these tools. So that's going out and actually using these tools with their students.
And I think that's one thing, like, I think I was kind of blown away by that data from that project, because I think I just assumed that people would kind of know that by now. I've been working in this world for, decades, and I just assumed that, and actually you can't assume that. With that in mind, shameless plug, Niall is going to be launching an online accessibility skills for educators program. I think it's scheduled for the end of January launch. So there's going to be loads of time to sign up for that. You'll be able to check out our website, obviously, wearedigitize.com, learn.wearedigitize.com for all our training and support. So yeah, tell us a wee bit about the course, Niall. Like, have you got a kind of idea in mind for these kind of key things?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's for everybody. So whether you are somebody who works in the early learning centres, whether you're somebody who works in upper secondary schools, whether you're staff, whether you're students, it's going to impact and support everybody. And also no matter what device you're using as well. So I'm going to make sure to mention Chromebooks, iPads, Microsoft devices, whatever tools you are using, whatever platforms you're using, I'm going to be showing you something that you can get the most out of these tools. And just over the 6 weeks or so, we've just got a program. It's basically me just working through, showing you what tools are available, how you can use them with students to get the most out of the activities, and then just a wee kind of, I guess, like homework, a wee place for you to go away and try these tools yourself.
Carole, can you tell us a wee bit more? We've got another few 6-week programs launching in January as well, haven't we? Like,
we do. We've got one specifically for charities, which is launching on the 14th of January, I believe. I wonder if we should, we'll drop the link to these in the
yeah, we will.
In the description.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the show notes.
In the show notes.
I believe that's what they say in the podcasting world.
Basically, the focus of the course is transform your charity with AI. But what we want to do every week after, it's a 6-week course, after every week's session, we're going to give you a practical challenge to do with AI, but it's going to relate back to your charity. So hopefully by the end of the course, you'll have done some real practical challenges and gained skills on the tools, really understanding how AI can improve your workflow, improve your business, improve engagement with donors, loads of stuff.
I was just going to say that to kind of flag up the thing that I think probably helps us stand out in what we do, our USP, and it's those practical activities, because we've thought about what has impact in terms of designing our learning, and it comes from years of experience in delivering training that, we thought might have been thinking it was great at the time, might have been really engaging, but actually does it have impact? And it's those kind of hands-on, I think, exercises that we've learned have the most impact, and that's been the same across our education work or our business work. It's hands-on learning, I think. Yeah, it's about like having those really, like we've had Alice Keeler, we had a conversation, we recorded with Alice Keeler. Now, if you don't know who Alice Keeler is, then it makes me wonder where you've been in the ed tech world for the last sort of 10 years. I was Niall and I worked with her at a conference down in England last year, and I was so excited. I was like, Alice Keeler's like the Taylor Swift of ed tech. She's like, I've known about her for years. Like, she had like hundreds of thousands of followers on Twitter. She shared so much that, I was like, she was kind of famous to me. So I was like, why, Alice Keeler? We're going to be at the same conference as Alice Keeler. And actually, it was about building relationships, and we got on really well. And I ended up going for a day out in Edinburgh and going for a food tour and just becoming friends. So and we've got Dan Fitzpatrick coming up. And again, if you don't know who Dan Fitzpatrick is right now in the edtech world, you probably should. He is everything AI at the moment. He's been travelling all over the world for the last few months, like literally all over the world. He's spent a lot of time in America. He's been in the United Arab Emirates. I don't know where else he's been. He's just been everywhere. He's already launched his big book. Can't remember exactly the title, AI Educator perhaps, but he's got another one coming out very soon, and we're so excited to speak to him. We also hold very dear in our hearts a guy called Ben Rouse, who Niall and I know Ben from working on Google projects, and Ben's done loads of work with Google over the years, but he does some amazing things with schools and business organisations around design thinking and workshopping, and his company Evolving Design just do some fantastic stuff. So I am flattered and honoured that these people want to speak to us.
It's been really nice to chat as well to people that we've worked with.
Yeah,
like you said, but with Ben, I did the innovator program with Mama Clabby. Mm-hmm. So it's been great just to kind of catch up, and she's in a different country, so we rarely get that opportunity. So it's been good to have those chats. Kirsty Hare that we worked with, we've been going out to the university a couple of times and kind of supporting the students there. So that's been really nice. Meg Bruff as well, who's kind of mentioned that she's interested in kind of joining us. So she's booked in for a couple of weeks' time. So we're really excited for that as well. And then we dropped, just this morning, Dr. Fiona Aubrey-Smith a wee message to say, do you fancy coming on? She's like, yes, send me the details. So we're really excited, honestly, to have so many incredible people joining us. Yeah,
and it's about sharing those conversations, not just about us. Like, I mentioned earlier the hashtag Digitize Education. Like, we almost see this as a kind of shared mission. It's not just like, yes, we've got products and
to do
services.
It's
going to take us all working together. And a lot of people are telling us they really wish for some stronger community around this, and maybe this will help.
Mm-hmm. And that's the kind of things like Sammy White was saying as well, is like building those communities and working collaboratively with others and making sure that everybody has that voice.
I think the team is a thing that really will bring people to the podcast and to buy our products and to work with us. We're looking for partnerships as well. So if anybody really wants to work with us on a partnership model, we're also looking for creators, people to come and work with us to create content for us. There's so much going on.
So as well as a podcast, Carole mentioned their creators, and what we would love is to somehow facilitate everyone being able to create these kind of impactful courses and programs, and for everyone to benefit from them, almost like in a kind of marketplace type setup where we'll host the platform and spread the word and market the brand, but actually maybe Sammy will do a course for us, or maybe Ben will do some kind of design thinking online program with us, and just partner with us to share these things more widely, maybe. So really excited about all our plans. And
I think that leads us in perfectly to kind of jump into our Spotify Wrapped. Now, yes, Now, yesterday, from recording this, yesterday, Spotify Wrapped dropped. I've seen so many videos online, people saying, what's it going to be like this year? How is my data affected? Kind of what my Wrapped is going to be. I saw people way back a month ago saying, this is your deadline if you want to affect your own Spotify Wrapped, your data, to make sure that you've got the songs and the artists that you like. Pam,
yes,
the biggest data analysis drop of the year.
What were you listening to this year? Who did it tell you?
Well, do you know what? I look forward to Spotify Wrapped every year. It's been Spotify's like my favourite sort of social network, if you can call it that. That, you know, if you look at the collaboration features and sharing playlists and everything, like genuinely one of my favourite tech tools ever. And the Wrapped is just like, I always look forward to it, and I'm always kind of aware of it in the back of my head when I'm listening to things and thinking, I've spent the whole summer listening to Taylor Swift. What's this going to do to my Spotify Wrapped? And actually, the answer this year is not very much. Because Taylor Swift wasn't even in my top 5. And a band called Bright Eyes, who've actually, you know, they're an older band, but I've spent a lot of 2024 listening to them, which kind of, you know, shocked me in a way. But yeah, there was one song, and this does not surprise me in any way, shape or form. I was slightly, a wee bit obsessed maybe with this song by a guy called Charlie Hickey, and it's a song called 10 Feet Tall. Love it. And that was my most listened to song. I listened to it, I think it was 190 times this year. Which is, yeah. So, I mean, in a way, it doesn't seem that much. I listened to 60-odd thousand hours worth of music, apparently, which puts me in the top 3% of Spotify users, I think. So it's a lot, but I think you had more, Kaz, didn't you? You had more than that.
I had a lot. There was a lot of revelations about my Spotify Wrapped this year.
Come on then, what was the big one?
The biggest revelation for me is that I'm now a Swiftie.
Brilliant.
I'm a Swiftie. Now, I was really late to the party with Taylor Swift. I didn't get into her at all until the Midnights album, which I think that was just last year, maybe the year before. I mean, last year it was a Phoebe Bridgers, Boy Genius, Clean Sweep, but this year it's Taylor Swift, The National, who I have been slightly obsessed with. Thank God Phoebe, my queen, is still there. And now coming in strong, the last two, Chappelle Roan, I knew she was going to be there, number 4.
Yeah.
But number 5, it's like, who am I? It's Post Malone, and that must be because of his song, what is the song? I Had Some Help, because I love that song and I have been playing it on repeat for months. It's like a new day, a new dawn. My Spotify, I was a bit nervous about it coming out, don't get me wrong. So I've listened to nearly 73,000 minutes of music and nearly 30,000 minutes of podcasts.
Yeah, I was the same. I was really high on the podcasts.
Hold on, mine didn't tell me my podcast minutes.
No, it does.
I must be up there. I'm going to have to go back and have a wee look.
It tells you now.
Let me load it up now, because I'm going to have to go back and have a wee look at podcasts, because I'm going to be up there for podcasts.
Yeah, you will be. I was like 26,000 hours or something, and Stephen Bartlett, Diary of a CEO, was my top podcast.
He was mine as well. And then it was Hidden Brain, which is an NPR podcast, which is brilliant. And then it was something called The Good Life Project, which I urge everybody to listen to. It's a beautiful podcast.
Mine was Science Versus. Science Versus was up there, and mine, Science Versus was up there, and I got one of those beautiful little Spotify thank yous from the person from Science Versus,
from Wendy Gugerman or whatever her name is.
Yeah, Wendy was like, "I'm Wendy." So,
thank you for listening to me.
I can't find the number of hours I've listened to podcasts, but podcasts are my thing.
It's going to be big.
I'll go and have a wee look after this. It's going to be ridiculously big. It's going to be big. For me, I mean, I'm about 27,000 hours, so it's not nearly as much as you guys, but it's still big. And then my top artists this year, I've got Say Anything, who I'm going to go and see in January.
Nice.
So I'm really excited for them. One of my top, my favourite album is from Say Anything.
Who are they? I've never heard of them.
So they were big around the noughties.
Right.
And yeah, they're kind of like pop punk.
You still into that pop punk? You still rocking the pop punk?
Yes, let's hear what else is got on his list.
Come on.
Number 2 is Blink-182.
Oh, wow.
So
He's very much.
That says it all. Then it's Linkin Park. That was because, I mean, they've had their wee kind of rejoin again this year, so that's where that's come from. Green Day at number 4.
Wow.
I didn't see that one coming in. And then lastly, right, so
I've never heard of this band now.
Right, this just shows you how much I'm a fan of Eurovision, because the last, I know, yeah, love Eurovision. The last band on my top artists is Bambi Thug, who was the Irish entry into Eurovision, and that must have been, when was that? Was that like May, June?
Yeah.
Had that on repeat and then never listened to it again, but she's made it into my top
Spotify
5
Wrapped.
artists. Yeah.
There you go, eh?
So
Wow.
this is the first year that Cassidy's not been in it, my favourite
Oh,
band
yeah.
of all time.
Cassidy
so I don't know
with
what's
a K.
happened there. Yep, yeah. First year in however many years they've done rap. So with your Wrapped, you also this year, which is really exciting, got a Notebook LM podcast.
Yeah, I've heard
talking
about this.
What's
your
this?
favourite artists.
Yeah, tell us
Yep.
about the integration with Spotify and Notebook LM.
If you don't know Notebook LM, it is this product that's come out in the past like couple of months that from Google that allows you to upload any sort of notes, and with those notes, it will create a podcast for you with these
Brilliant.
two people talking. So they kind of ad lib on everything that you've got there, and they add in information to what your notes are. So I used Notebook LM a couple of weeks ago when I had my notes for a presentation I was giving down at Learning Places down in Glasgow, and I was talking about how accessibility and the accessibility tools can support our learners. And I had this big trip down to Glasgow that I was like, let's just practice what I need to say. So I put my notes into Notebook LM, and it created this podcast for me that was like maybe 15, 20 minutes long. And it just allowed me to kind of go through my notes again in a different way, think about what they've said, and also gave me kind of like jokes and things to add in to my own presentation, which was great. So I had that, I just repeated it a couple of times
You keep
on my way
doing
down.
that. That's a really good feature for you, Niall.
It is great, isn't it? Because my jokes are rotten. So what Spotify has done is it's taken your data and it has used Notebook LM to create your very own personalized podcast based on your top listening song, the songs you're listening to most.
Goodness.
Based on your hours, based on when in the year you've been listening to music as well. So it says, we noticed that on August the 10th,
Yes.
that you listened to, that you were a big fan of country that week, and you've racked up the numbers for your whatever band you've been listening to. It is really cool. It only lasts about 5 minutes,
Right.
but I've seen, it's just the thought of everybody has their own personalised podcast now who has access to Spotify,
That's
which
amazing.
is unbelievable. Think how many millions people have now got their own podcast that is personalised and delivered straight to them. I just think it's such an amazing touch, and something I didn't think would happen.
All right, let's unwrap this thing.
Ooh, yes. We're coming at you live from Google's Notebook LM, ready to explore your 2024 Spotify Wrapped.
And let me tell you, it looks like you had one heck of a musical year.
25,701 minutes, that's a whole lot of tunes. Puts you right up there in the top 14% of Spotify listeners worldwide.
This is the thing about technology. It's just the creativity and the personalization is just like really powerful, and it's called hyper personalization now. And we're going to get to a stage where the algorithms and the machines they're all ready, but they're just going to know us better than they know it ourselves.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us on our first ever Digitize Fully Charged podcast. Please join us again. We've got so many great guests coming up over the weeks. As well as talking to educators, we'll be talking to people in business, people running their own companies, developers, people doing cool stuff with tech. And sometimes it'll just be us. And we'll have these little chats like we're having today, and we'll share things that we like, and we'll share stories about what we've been up to. But yeah, keep tuned, stay tuned. You can find us on all the podcast places, all of them now. Where are they all? They're everywhere.
Yeah, Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Deezer, we're on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
So the videos will be shared on YouTube, and the actual podcast audio will be on the other three. So you'll find us on there. I've been cutting out wee snippets as well to stick on social media, so you'll find us absolutely everywhere.
And if you want to join the podcast as a guest, if you would like to get involved in talking to the team here at Digitize, get in touch with Niall, get in touch with our website, wearedigitize.com. There's a form there. We'll put in a little checkbox for the podcast. So if you're interested in the podcast, we'll put a little checkbox on, and you can just go onto our online form on our website, or you can reach out at hello@wearedigitize.com. That's our email address. Give us a shout there, hit us up on social media, and then Niall will send you out his very well organised podcast process.